Welcome to the 9-Minute True Story, where we share emotional and dramatic real-life stories that touch your heart and reveal the unexpected twists of life. Stay with us to explore the depths of human emotions in just 9 minutes. Part 1. The Harsh Truth. A cold winter wind howled through the Rocky Mountains in Montana, rattling the wooden door of an old cabin. Inside, Ethan Carter sat motionless by the dying embers of a fire, his hands rough and calloused, covering his weary face. The glow of the fireplace barely illuminated the pain etched into his expression. Ethan's thoughts spiraled back to his newborn son, just a month old. The baby's bright blue eyes were the only light in his otherwise shattered world. But the moment that should have been the pinnacle of happiness had turned into a nightmare. His beloved wife, Claire, the woman he had vowed to cherish forever, was not just his partner. She was his sister. The realization hit him like 1,000 knives cutting through his soul. He clenched his fists, his body trembling. Why? He whispered into the silence. Why did fate have to be this cruel? Tears threatened to fall, but he forced them back. How could he have known? How could anyone have foreseen that the love of his life was the very person he had been searching for all his life? The tragic truth had unraveled like a slow-burning fire, consuming every ounce of joy he had known. Part 2. A childhood lost in the wind. In the 1980s, the quiet town of Silver Creek, Montana, was nestled among the towering peaks of the Rockies. This was where Ethan Carter and his little sister, Lily Carter, had once lived with their parents in a modest farmhouse. Their family was poor, but love and laughter filled the home. Lily was Ethan's shadow, following him everywhere with her innocent giggles. At just 2 years old, she was the heart of the Carter family. But one fateful afternoon, that heart was ripped away. Ethan, only 8 at the time, had taken Lily out to the open fields while their parents worked inside. He had turned away for mere minutes when a black truck pulled up on the gravel road. A man and a woman approached, their voices calm and reassuring, asking for directions. Before Ethan could react, the woman scooped Lily into her arms and sprinted back to the truck. "Lily!" Ethan's scream pierced the sky. He ran barefoot on the frozen dirt, his small frame pushing forward despite the burning pain in his feet. But he was too slow. The truck roared to life, kicking up a storm of dust, and disappeared down the road. His parents' cries haunted him for years. "My baby girl, where is she?" His mother had sobbed into his father's chest. The Carters searched for Lily relentlessly. Flyers, late-night searches, desperate prayers, but nothing. The weight of guilt buried Ethan, pressing down on his small shoulders as he blamed himself for losing her. Eventually, the world moved on, but Ethan never did. Part 3. A New Life, a Stolen Name. Lily Carter, now known as Claire Williams, had been taken hundreds of miles away to Wyoming. The couple who kidnapped her had planned to sell her across the border, but border security was tight. Fearing arrest, they abandoned the toddler in a rural town, where she was found by an elderly couple, Thomas and Margaret Williams. The Williamses, grieving the loss of their own child years prior, took the little girl in and raised her as their own. They never questioned where she came from. In an era where record-keeping was loose, they forged her birth certificate, renaming her Claire. Claire grew up never knowing the truth. She adored her adoptive parents and believed she had always been their daughter. In time, she flourished into a kind-hearted, intelligent woman with a love for the outdoors and an unshakable sense of home. Part 4. Fate's cruel joke. Years later, Ethan, now a hard-working young man, left Montana to start fresh. His journey took him to Wyoming, where he found work in a logging company. That's where he met Claire. From the moment they spoke, there was an unexplainable connection, like two souls recognizing each other from another life. Their love blossomed in the simplicity of country roads, mountain sunsets, and quiet nights by the fire. Within a year, Ethan proposed. Claire said yes without hesitation. Neither of them knew the past they shared. Their wedding was a small but beautiful, held on a ranch under the open Wyoming sky. The vows they exchanged were filled with love, with promises to stand by each other forever. Soon after, they welcomed a son into the world. Life felt perfect until the nightmare began. Part 5. The discovery that shattered everything. It started with a simple gift. Claire's adoptive mother, Margaret, gave her a small silver bracelet the day their son was born. "This was with you when we found you," Margaret said, tears in her eyes. "I always meant to give it back when you were ready." Claire turned the bracelet over in her hands. It was old, tarnished, but the engraving on the inside made her breath catch. L.C. Ethan noticed the bracelet, his heart stopping in his chest. He had seen that exact bracelet before. His mother had one just like it. A trip back to Montana confirmed the horrifying truth. Claire wasn't just his wife, she was Lily, his sister. Part 6. The impossible choice. The revelation crushed them. Love, marriage, a child. How could they undo what had already been done? Claire collapsed into sobs. "What do we do, Ethan? What do we do?" Ethan had no answers. He had lost Lily once. Now he had found her only to lose her again in the cruelest way imaginable. For weeks, they lived in separate corners of the house, unable to look at each other without breaking down. Their son, innocent and unaware, cooed happily in his crib, the product of a love that should have never existed. In the end, they made the only choice they could. Claire packed her things and moved back with her adoptive parents in Wyoming, raising their son alone. Ethan returned to Montana, carrying the unbearable weight of what had happened. Part 7. Moving forward, but never forgetting. Ethan remained in Montana, throwing himself into work, trying to find peace in the land he once called home. Claire, now a single mother, poured her heart into raising her son, shielding him from the tragedy of his origins. Years passed, but the pain never faded. Love, once so pure and unwavering, had become an unspoken sorrow between them. Yet despite it all, Ethan and Claire knew one thing. They would always love each other, even if fate had been merciless. The silver bracelet remained with Claire, a painful yet cherished relic of the family she lost, and the love that was never meant to be. Part 8. A Life in Fragments. Years had passed since Claire and Ethan had parted ways, yet neither could escape the weight of their past. Claire had settled in a quiet town in Wyoming, dedicating her life to raising their son, Daniel, in the best way she knew how. She never spoke of Ethan, though she saw traces of him in Daniel's every movement. The way he laughed, the way his eyes darkened when he was deep in thought. Meanwhile, Ethan buried himself in work back in Montana. He had built a life of solitude, one that allowed no room for the ghost of his past to haunt him. And yet, every time the winter winds howled through the mountains, he found himself reliving the moment he lost Claire, not once, but twice. Claire had tried to move forward, even attempting to find love again, but no one could ever quite measure up. There was always a void in her heart, one she knew could never be filled. And when Daniel, at the age of 10, began asking about his father, she could no longer avoid the truth. "Mom," Daniel asked one night, his voice barely above a whisper, "did Dad ever love us?" Claire's heart ached as she ran a hand through his dark hair. "He loved you more than anything, sweetheart, and he always will." Part 9, an unexpected reunion fate, cruel as it had been, was not done with them yet. One cold autumn afternoon, as Claire and Daniel walked through the bustling streets of a small town near Yellowstone, she felt her breath catch in her throat. There, standing by the entrance of a diner, was Ethan. Time had etched lines into his face, but his eyes were the same ones she had fallen in love with, the same ones that once held so much hope. Ethan turned as if sensing her presence. Their eyes met, and for a moment the world faded away. Daniel tugged at Claire's sleeve. "Mom, who's that?" She swallowed hard, her throat dry. That's your father." Ethan stepped forward, hesitant. "Claire, it's been a long time." "It has," she whispered, her heart pounding. "This is Daniel." For the first time in years, Ethan looked at his son, really looked at him. His breath hitched as he saw the undeniable resemblance. "Daniel," he murmured, voice thick with emotion. Daniel studied him for a moment before cautiously extending his hand. "Hi, Dad." Ethan's world shattered and rebuilt itself in that instant. He took Daniel's hand, gripping it firmly, as if afraid to let go. "Hi, son." Part 10. Healing the Wounds of the Past. The days that followed were filled with slow, careful conversations. Ethan and Claire sat together, talking about everything and nothing, slowly untangling the pain that had bound them for so long. "I never wanted to leave," Ethan admitted one evening, watching Daniel laugh in the distance. "I just didn't know how to stay." Claire nodded, understanding more than she ever had before. "I know." Though they knew they could never undo the past, they made a silent promise to forge a new future, one where Daniel would never have to bear the weight of their sorrow. They would always be connected, not just by blood, but by the love they had once shared. A love that, despite fate's cruelty, had never truly died. Final thought: some wounds never fully heal, but with time, even the deepest scars can become reminders of resilience, of survival, and of the undeniable power of love.